What's going on, everyone? My name's Alex. That's Eileen. You're watching Straight to the Chicane podcast, and today we're going to be talking about the Singapore GP. We've been waiting. It felt like another summer break almost.
It did,
or a fall break, I guess you could call it.
We had 3 weeks off.
I know. Too much time in between the last time we guys saw you guys. So if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, comment on whatever you guys thought of the race. We're going to get her opinion and our opinion here real soon. So let's just dive into the Singapore race. Weather, safety cars.
Too many.
We didn't see Max get his sixth in a row.
Yes.
Finally.
We did see Red Bull get 6 in a row.
We did see Red Bull get 6 in a row. However, it was not Max this time. He did not break. He will not be breaking the Sebastian Vettel
He will
record.
not. No, Sebastian is safe.
Yes. So if you haven't yet seen, sorry, that was a little spoiler. So how are you? How did you enjoy the race?
I don't know how I feel still.
Okay.
It was so chaotic. It was aggravating.
It was.
But you just couldn't stop watching it. There's just so much happening. So many restarts from the safety cars. It was crazy.
It was
boring.
Yeah. A little boring.
Yes.
Again, you were rooting for Lewis.
Yes,
I'm guessing.
I
So
was,
you were a
yes.
little disappointed. However, I'm gonna tell you, Checo fans were very excited. Really had good race. He dominated the whole entire time.
No, it was great. I mean, good for Checo.
Yeah.
This is his second win of the year.
It is.
So, fourth of his career. So, great to see. But, yeah, I was rooting for Mercedes looked so much better. Lewis looked great. I mean, qualifying was so close that I kind of expected it to be like a more enticing battle. And I know the weather, of course, mixes everything up. But we really didn't see a whole lot of action at the front. I mean, really, the most that we were at one point literally just watching the battle for 7th.
The end of the race was definitely the battle for 7th.
The battle for 7th between Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen.
That's right. And then we had Lewis make a mistake, and
he made a couple this race.
I think almost. In fact, I will say every driver made some mistakes. Some were worse than others. Some is the reason why they did not finish with some DNFs. That's why we had 14 drivers finish.
Yep.
Out of the 20, so 6 drivers had some issues.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was honestly really, and as crazy as it was, there wasn't any real accidents. I expected there to be a red flag. I expected there to definitely be something on lap 1.
Nothing on lap 1.
And everyone was, besides Magnussen, who seems to always get in an accident.
Yeah, I mean,
on lap 1.
Sure, and then you could say that Lewis got bumped by Carlos.
Yeah.
In turn 1, pretty much got pushed out and had to go wide.
He did, but not really any real damage
No.
other than Magnussen's front wing.
Yeah, so let's briefly talk about the weekend before we get into the full race, because we kind of just dove in, it seems like.
Dove right in.
Practices weren't so great. Nothing to really big talk about on Friday.
It was standard. Practice 1, we saw Lewis in first. He led
which
the
was
practice
nice to see.
session. So it was okay, we're going to see something. And then Max was having some issues with his car. At one point, Checo was having issues. Leclerc had issues with his car. So they didn't get a lot of running time. Checo didn't get long pace time. And then Leclerc had a lot of time missed. So then practice 3.
We got cut short.
We only had 30 minutes.
Yep, because of rain.
And, I really, going into this weekend, knew that it was going to rain on Saturday and on Sunday. So to have everybody be like, oh, my God, it's raining. I'm like, did you guys not look at the weather?
Right.
So I knew it was going to be crazy. But, yeah, not a lot. It just was definitely looking like Mercedes was a little bit more on pace with the top 2 teams, which...
Definitely thought that here at this street course in particular with this type of weather, Mercedes...
Low speed corners.
Mercedes was looking good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why... not maybe the whole reason, but one reason why qualifying looked really, really good. It was a really good qualifying. One of the better ones of the season.
No, it was good. We saw, like, for qualifying, we saw Alonso on provisional pole. Mm-hmm. We saw Leclerc. We saw Hamilton.
It was a bunch of different people on pole
for
a moment.
We saw Verstappen potentially twice, but neither lap got finished.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? So
what a weekend for Max.
Yeah, Max had a tough. He flew everybody out, his whole family out. He had a chance to win the championship here. Now, it wasn't granted. A lot of things had to fall into place, but he did have to win the race.
It wasn't off par to assume that Max was probably going to win the championship this weekend. And had he not have had such like bad luck, or his team making a team error for qualifying, he probably would have been on pole. He would not have had all that crazy stuff that happened during the race today, and he most likely would have won.
Yeah, so his team told him twice to...
They had him abort the lap, so obviously qualifying was in the wets, but Q3...
was kind of drying up
They were on softs at that point, and he was making he had a couple like kind of squirrely... Like it wasn't.
Moments,
It wasn't the like most clean qualifying for Max.
No, but he was still in the top. Let's say top 3.
Well, no, but he was still up on that lap.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, in sector 3, he aborted, and so it was like I think we had maybe 3 minutes left. So okay, he's gonna go. And listening to his onboard radio, they were like, "You're most likely going to be the last person to cross the line," which he would have been. Mm-hmm. And so he was up. Not 2.7 seconds, but almost a second.
Yeah, 0.933 or
almost
something. Yeah.
A second.
Yeah.
And they asked him to box. I mean, any driver would have been pissed. And, of course, people are criticizing him for his reaction or whatever, but anybody would have reacted that way.
Oh, absolutely. And then, what's funny, it's online on social media. I saw that people were saying, why didn't he just use his electric motor? But you really can't. It doesn't work like you can't just. I'm turning just the electric motor on. It's like 600 or almost 800 horsepower just from the gas motor, and then the electric motor only is like 140 horsepower or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But, I mean, it obviously was the right call because at the end of the day, we've seen what Max can do in lower positions.
And also, he would have been disqualified. And he would have been at the back of the grid.
Yeah.
So it would have been.
At a track like this would have been very difficult. We saw George Russell, who started from the pit lane, and he definitely struggled today.
Yeah, it didn't really make any places too much. Actually.
I mean, he did, technically, because he started P20 and he finished P14. But he was 14 out of 14 drivers that finished. So, tough race. But, I mean, we did see Max dead last and still finish P7.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Definitely think that he would have won. Given different circumstances.
The Red Bull car, I mean, was just really, it's on a different level compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
We did see, there was moments where Leclerc was in second place from almost the whole entire race, pretty much was. He was getting back on Checo, and they were under a second. There was
times where he was like so close, like 100th.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's just maybe Max or if it is the car.
No, it is honestly
or both.
Max is on a different level, but the car.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see what Perez did when they asked him to give it everything he's got? I mean,
he pulled away and got what, 7 seconds?
7.5 seconds ahead. So the car is elite. The car is elite, which is good for them. But yeah, it was an interesting weekend. I feel so conflicted. Like I feel like I liked it a little bit, but I feel mostly like it was just chaotic with just not a whole lot of like chaos, I guess you could say. Like it felt more chaotic than it actually was.
I guess you can call it organized chaos,
Yeah, like a lot of the DNFs were engine failures. So we had the 2 engine failures. We had the Latifi crash, shocking. We had Tsunoda in the wall. So we had some of the normal kind of offenders. Sad to see Alex Albon DNF because it was his first race back after obviously he had surgery.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was crazy.
I thought similar. I thought it was a little boring. Not a whole lot of passing. Just the chaos never really came. Like there was moments where there was supposed to be something.
Yeah.
And then
I think we were all waiting for that.
And then the restarts kind of were just
like they weren't
boring. And honestly, I don't have full clarification on why Sergio Perez got in trouble twice for these restarts. Now, here's my understanding is that he was more than 10 car lengths back, which tells me that he's using the space between the pace car and himself to give himself more running speed when he mashes the gas a little earlier than everybody to get the, when they get back going on the green flag. So that's what I think happened.
It is, yeah. Which he did twice because we had 100 safety cars.
So,
He was making it clear the safety car was going slow, and the 97 times that we went to Christian Horner on the pit wall today,
too many times.
While I had to listen to him when there was driver radio going, he did explain that, Christian Horner, that the safety car was driving unreasonably slow.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he should be more than 10 car lengths back. If the race car is going slow.
It doesn't, but maybe his justification is so that he can, I don't know, keep his tires warm or whatever. So he's got to stay back and then, whatever. But it happened twice. Post-race, we didn't know. It was investigated after. So, he did end up getting 1 reprimand, 1 5-second penalty, and 2 penalty points.
Yes.
But he still got the win. So, hey. But yes, I was a little bit bummed for Lewis. I'm sure you guys know I'm rooting for him to get at least a win this season. Hopefully it's in Austin when we're there. That would be great. It's either I want to see Max win the championship in Austin or I want to see Lewis get his first race win in Austin.
I mean, maybe I was a little disappointed too because one, do you think, and I want to know how everyone else feels too. Do you think they should have started the race earlier, or do you think the judges and the stewards made all the right calls on delaying the race an hour?
I mean, I agree that we should start it was pretty torrential downpouring. The track obviously didn't dry up very quickly anyways. I mean, just based on the humidity, but I would like to see them drive in a little bit more treacherous rain conditions. I mean, it's like this weekend is very similar to what Monaco looked like. We just didn't start the race this weekend, whereas in Monaco, we started it, then we red flagged it, then we had the rolling restart, but it still finished on a time instead of the actual laps. And then this one, we just delayed it, but we had the full time.
But this track typically ends under a time limit because of how long the race is. This is the longest race of the year. So that was no different. However, I want to see them race when they're scheduled to race, rain or shine. That's why we have.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of enjoyed the extra little bit. We got a little bit of extra time this morning.
To what? Sleep in for you? You got to sleep in?
He was texting me in the other room like, all right, delay at least 30 minutes. And I'm like, cool, I can sleep a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think that it was probably the right decision just because like with these street tracks, they're so tricky that I feel like there's already normally historically safety cars, red flags, like chaos, carnage. To throw like torrential rain into the mix is, a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I'm going to go and say that they probably made the right call on this particular track because, A, the humidity is so high. Yeah. Who knows if they would have gotten to slicks, if they would have started on time.
Right.
They might not have.
I don't know. Russell went pretty quick.
Yeah, he went early. He was the first one. He was the test dummy, and it was honestly a good call for Mercedes to have him do it because he was struggling. He was at the back of the pack. Had the, what was it, the tire blowout from the hit.
No, that was later. He had that later.
Oh, yeah. So so I think he was good for him to be the kind of test dummy.
Yeah, he had a tough race. I'm like, I feel like there was 2 kind of like flashback moments of like things that that you've seen before. There was the battling between Russell and Bottas again. That was the first incident, so I think that's why he ended up pitting first.
Yeah,
is he wasn't getting anywhere. Like he couldn't get ahead of Bottas. He breezed past him, went out to the runoff, but it's like my God, they had that huge accident last year. You know, is it going to happen again? And then it was like the stars just kept aligning to bring Max and Lewis together.
Yeah.
Like, perfectly. Like, I feel like the most excitement of this race, like, was a little bit between Leclerc and Perez battling there, but the most excitement was when Max and Lewis were in the midfield battling each other. And, you know, they were in a DRS train because it was Vettel, then it was Hamilton, then it was
Well, then they finally allowed the
Max.
DRS to open up once everybody got onto the slicks.
I know.
Which was great.
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, so I'm like, that was the exciting piece. I mean, we saw unusual mistakes from some, you know, really top drivers. So obviously we saw Lewis go into the wall.
Yeah, he went in the wall pretty hard. However, his car was...
Not according to him. He said it wasn't that hard.
It just seemed hard. And then, you know, there was a major mistake from Max. And he...
Dude, that was crazy.
He took the... we
had the restart. So I don't know what restart we were on with this. I think it was the final restart.
It was the final
I think it was
restart.
after Sonoda. Mm-hmm. So we saw where it was like, he like timed it wrong and flew up and almost passed Norris, had to brake. That was one mistake. Then we got going and they're coming down the straight. It looked like he was going 100 miles an hour faster than all the other cars. He just flew past and just kept going. Major lockup.
Definitely locked them up. Smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
Went into the runoff area.
So same turn, I think
it was turn 4 is what it was.
Same turn that everybody kept crashing in.
Yeah.
You know, that's where Russell went off. That's where Lewis went into the wall. They said that's where Sonoda went off. So just crazy. But, of course, Max, he did it nice. Like, he came in super fast. Like, if you haven't seen it, you got to watch how, like, his car is going so fast. And then he said he bottomed out, super bad flat spots. So he had to pit. This is when he ended up being in last place. So everyone's like, oh, if he can make it to the points, I think Crofty said, it'll be a miracle.
I mean, he made it to the points. It almost seemed like no problem.
Yeah. A couple more laps, he probably would have caught Stroll.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So with everything happening, with all this carnage, everyone going out, I kind of made McLaren, my team, my favorite team, have a good race. They finished 4th and 5th.
they did. Ricciardo, 11 places.
11 places, had the best overall performance of the best day, honestly.
Yeah.
Based on movement, you know, made some good calls, stayed out late on the first round of tires, on the intermediates, and didn't really transfer over until really late.
Yeah, they timed it perfectly.
Yeah, they did.
When we got that, was it the second or third safety car? It's hard to keep track. I think there was 6 in total between VSC and full safeties. But they timed it right, and a lot of people pit on the VSC, and then we got the safety car. And so they were the only team, the 2 drivers that were on intermediates.
For that long.
Yeah. And so everybody else had already switched to slicks. And so, yeah, no, it worked out perfect for them.
Yeah, because I don't think typically their car is in that position.
Well,
You know,
Lando had the upgraded package this weekend.
He
So
did.
McLaren brought like a decent chunk of upgrades.
Yeah, but it was hard to tell even if this upgrades were helping or not. Do you know if they helped or not? Can you tell between the two?
It's hard to say because Q2 Lando barely made it out.
Yeah, and Daniel
Daniel didn't even make it out of
Q1.
Q1, yeah.
Yeah.
But Lando qualified much better.
He did.
So,
But he's been qualifying much
he
better all year.
He qualified P5, so who knows? I'm like, he has been, but he's definitely not had the best season from his own performance. So they had a great race, the 2 of them. And really, like, I think Daniel needed this.
He did.
You know, it's really good to see him happy. It was good to see him smiling. We don't really know what's going to happen with his future at this point.
Not
so,
yet.
as much as it was unusual, we had McLaren up there, and then we had Aston Martin. At one point, they were 6 and 7 until Max, on like the last lap, was able to overtake Vettel. But it was McLaren, the 4-5, 6-7 was Aston Martin.
Yeah, and Aston Martin they kept staying. They stayed in it. They didn't make any 2 major mistakes, and they were able to get up into the points like that. I mean, with everyone around them, and honestly, for the first few laps of the race, I thought, oh my God, there's going to be carnage because Max was going for lunges and making moves that he was just really pushing it, and I'm like, oh, he's in the midfield, and there's everybody around him, and and he was just kind of trying to make his way and having some struggle because of the start, which we really didn't even talk about.
He had a bad start.
He had a bad start. Lewis had a bad start. He was, Lewis complained about tires the whole time. That he was apparently on the wrong tire every single time.
He was, he needed his own tire.
And he started in second gear, and it was a little slow in the second phase of the start. Max did not have a great start. From what we can see, that he almost went into anti-stall, where the engine just kind of stays alive by pulling its clutch in itself, and does not allow it to let out, at a fast pace. It goes, So that whole start for a lot of the two top guys that I consider the top two, right? They had a really rough start. They got blown away. I mean, I wouldn't say Max went from eighth
to
13th, and then crawled his way back up to 8th pretty quickly. However, it was fairly quickly. It
was, yeah.
But, the start wasn't really great for those two. And then, Perez had a good start.
I mean,
was able to be in first right away.
The reason Max, not just he had a bad start, so he got overtaken by a few cars, but he had contact with Magnussen.
Right there off the line, right?
Right there, yes. And then Magnussen, he loves a black and orange flag. So he got the black and orange flag because he had
some
contact
on
his front wing. Yeah. Which we've seen a few times this year. I think this is the third time he's been given the black and orange flag. But that's why he ended up falling back. Ricciardo got in front of him. So I don't know. It made it exciting because I'll tell you what, the majority of the overtakes were from Max.
They were.
The majority.
Yeah.
Probably 85%
And that's been the tendency this whole season, is the majority of the overtakes probably have been from him. He's started from the back a few times with brand new engines and transmissions and everything, and then made his way to the front to win.
Right.
So I feel like he probably has the most overtakes for the season.
Yes. We did see Alonso, some great battling, so he was able to hold Max off. It seemed like for almost 10 laps.
Yeah, until the engine blew.
And then his engine blew.
And then his teammate's engine blew.
Yep. And so now we've got McLaren, who's in a tight battle with Alpine. McLaren moved ahead.
Yeah.
I think by 4 points, because obviously they got maximum points, finishing 4 and 5.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, the best meme I think I've seen was Oscar Piastri. It was a photo of Oscar Piastri, and it said,
a McLaren suit.
In a McLaren suit, of course, because he's signed with them. And Oscar Piastri watching both Alpine's engines blow.
Yeah.
Made the right decision.
He did. Unfortunately, they still have some issues.
Yeah, it's disappointing because I feel like Ocon did have a tough weekend. He didn't qualify good.
Nope.
But for the majority of the season, Alonso and Ocon have actually been performing really well, despite their car issues, which they had a double DNF today. Williams had a double DNF today.
I mean, honestly, Alonso has been almost in the top. He hasn't gotten a podium yet this year, but he's been right there when he finishes.
P5 is he's consistent.
I mean, he's not Mr. P5. He's not Mr. Consistent. However, Russell didn't make P5 this week, so he's no longer Mr. Consistent. He's no longer in that.
He's no longer. So this season, what we're round 18, 17? I don't even know
not
anymore.
Quite far that far, but yeah, somewhere in that area.
But other than Silverstone where he DNF'd, even though he tried to finish that race and barter with the people, but he's been in the top 5, so impressive. But we'll see how they come back. But yeah, Alonso he's been having a good season, so it was a bummer to see that. It was his 350th race today. He wanted to make it a special one. Disappointing to have him not finish. But.
Yeah, it was disappointing to see him not finish.
Yeah.
Well, so that kind of, the whole race kind of was, it ended with Perez winning because he led from the very first lap. Second and third was Ferrari with Leclerc and.
This was their. So this is the first or second. No, this is the first Ferrari double podium since Miami.
Isn't
that crazy?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's crazy. Not that Ferrari hasn't been on the podium, but they haven't been on there together. So
nope. Yeah.
That's to see. So, Max, if he wins in Japan.
Yep. Which is next week. And
I don't have all the stats, guys. I don't. So, but Max obviously can potentially win the championship next week. So.
Yeah, it's going to require X, Y, and Z to happen, and Leclerc to finish outside somewhere.
I think Leclerc has to finish second.
Or lower. Okay, so.
Second in order to keep the fight going. So.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, second.
But it would be special for them because, being like Honda being there, and if they win the championship there. So, we'll see what happens.
Well, and it's Yuki's home race. Which he hasn't been home. He hasn't had a home race yet since he's been in Formula One.
I have never seen this track, so
it's a pretty cool track.
I've heard a lot of great
things.
things.
It's very fun to race on the simulator.
Okay.
It's got some windy bits, kind of like Austin does.
Okay.
I think Austin took a little bit of that part of the track, and definitely got some inspo from here.
Okay.
Weather-wise, we'll see. It's rained there before, and it's also been dry there before.
Yeah, I've seen like recaps of things that have happened there with the rain. So, okay, so there's a lot going on in the media right now.
Yeah.
So, do we want to talk about the Red Bull controversy? Shall I say Red Bull, Aston Martin, but the cost cap for 2021 has allegedly.
So allegedly, Red Bull, has spent what, $10 million more?
I mean, we don't know. There's a few different numbers that are circulating, but they're saying by a large amount that they've exceeded the cost cap for 2021. So
they definitely have, been saying that a lot. We've also been seeing photos of Toto and Ferrari's. I can never say his name, right?
Mattia.
Yeah. They see them together talking,
shaking hands in front of the Mercedes.
Yeah, so we can only imagine what they're talking about. And I'm speculating to say it's probably this overage by Red Bull.
This is going to be Toto when the cost cap comes out, the details on Wednesday.
Yep.
So I don't know. There's a lot of drama around it. So not only Red Bull, but also Aston Martin has supposedly exceeded the cost cap there. So what the speculation is that the money obviously went into developing last year's car, but a chunk of it potentially was utilized for the 2022 car. So, is that why Red Bull is so far in a different league? Red Bull is saying that they don't even know where these numbers are coming from. Their accountant said they came in within line when they turned in their paperwork in March. They're fully cooperating. There's talks of slander and defamation lawsuits from Red Bull camp.
Of course there is.
There's all sorts of stuff being said. Mm-hmm. So Wednesday, we've only got a couple days until it's supposed to actually officially come out. But there's, rumors that they're going to get DQ'd from a championship, which obviously they're leading both at this point, that they can lose out from last year's championship based on, breaching the cost cap, less time in the aero, the tunnels, all sorts of stuff.
I think they should, if they've definitely gone over the cost cap and they have spent millions of dollars more, then they should be reprimanded. They should be fined.
100%.
They should be.
I agree.
Points should be deducted. Something should be happening. Maybe not individually to the drivers, but to the constructors, right? Because that's where the money is. That's who gets the money is based on the constructor points and how they finish. So,
and I think the best example was Fred Vassar. I feel like he says a lot of really great things.
He's a wise man. Yes,
quote him all the time.
Yep.
Like his DNF thing. It's either technical, an engine failure, or it's Latifi. Today was a great example. But no, he said if you can be like disqualified or penalized for, less than half a millimeter issue with your front wing, breaching the cost cap should be very severe. So
it should be, and I don't disagree with that.
And then obviously Toto was saying, I've had to basically have 40 people in our camp just not do anything. Like they're not, working on anything, because of the cost cap. And then Christian Horner is saying, I feel for him, but I've had double that amount of people. So it's just, there's a lot of things going around. Like how is the speculation getting out? Like, and what's the truth to it? And who's sharing it? Because it should be just with the FIA. But what will happen?
We'll find out Wednesday.
Yeah. It's going to be kind of crazy.
Another thing I guess that we can still talk about is, and it still has to do a little bit with Red Bull, is that Gasly's contract still might be up and he still might leave AlphaTauri.
I know.
There's still that rumor.
It's crazy. Honestly, you got to keep up with all the drama. I feel like, people, you think F1 is just a sport where cars drive around. There's a lot that goes into it, okay? So supposedly, before the race started, there's a rumor swirling that Nick DeVries has signed with AlphaTauri. Don't know the source on that. It has not been confirmed, but that it's potentially looming. And then I also heard that Ralf Schumacher did a interview basically saying the reason that Ocon doesn't want Gasly to come to Alpine is because Gasly stole Ocon's girlfriend back in the day. Like, he said that, like, on air during an interview. So, I don't know. Because we know Ocon is really fighting for Mick to come to Alpine.
Yeah, and Mick is still kind of fighting for his own job to keep his seat even at Haas currently.
Yeah.
So that's still up in the air,
and
we
have just Williams. So, yeah, we have Williams open seat.
One Williams seat.
We have Alpine open seat and then one Haas open seat. But potentially, like, is Gasly's signed currently with AlphaTauri? He's there, but we don't know what's happening. And he even said in the press conference this week, well, I don't really know. You'll know when I know. But I'm like, he's definitely, something's going on because he's playing it coy.
Very coy, and he said in a few weeks there should be some answers.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens.
Silly season continues.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really know what else you have for this weekend because, this race was it was weird. I'm still a little shocked by it. I wasn't impressed. It wasn't blown away. Yeah, again, I think I had more fun watching qualifying this weekend.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Than the actual race. But I don't know. That might change. Next week, Suzuki, you haven't seen.
Suzuka.
Yeah, Suzuka. You haven't seen ever.
I have never seen it.
It's been a while since I've seen a race there.
The race is at 1 o'clock in the morning, our time. So.
Which is okay. I'm excited for that. Who are you going to pick for your driver of the day?
You're so funny. I mean, I guess I agree with Checo because it was a hard fought. Obviously he led every lap. Great start. It's an exhausting track. And, I mean, he had to push at the end to really maintain knowing that the penalty was looming. So I'll go with him. We're now naming him he's got Minister of Defense, and he's now the King of the Streets.
King of the Streets, because he's won, 2 now races where he was in the streets this year?
Yeah, 2 this year, but he's won 3 because he won Baku last year.
Okay, since we're still talking about Checo, do you think this was his best race?
No. I think his best race was Sakir.
I do too.
It was his first one, and he freaking started last.
Yeah, and he was determined because he didn't have a seat either.
Yeah, 100%.
He got the seat because of that race.
That was literally one of my favorite races. Now, I know a lot went into that with the whole double stack, the issue for Mercedes, the tire craziness.
Yeah, because Russell could have and probably should have won that race.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But the stars aligned. And that season made me really love Checo.
Yeah, he's a good racer. And I still really like Checo. And it has a lot to do with that season, too.
And Checo also is like... he said it in the media pen after the race today, basically like, if I don't finish in the top 2, the media immediately goes and says, oh, he's having the worst season at Red Bull. Like, his seat needs to be up for question when that's not the case. So,
well, and also the upgrades that they've been doing at Red Bull, they've been putting on Max's car first. So there has been a couple races where they haven't had this exact same car.
Well, yeah.
And
they're definitely prioritizing Max.
They are. So some of those actual finishes where he didn't finish at the very top are a lot of it because of the car performance wasn't fully there.
Yeah.
And there was some other races that he just doesn't do great in. There was, I forget, it was earlier this year, he just had a really rough race. It wasn't his place. It was either too wet, I forget. I can't remember exactly what it was.
It's interesting because he struggled in the wet, I feel like, in a lot of places. But not in Monaco and not here. So
right.
It's like, it's interesting. But I will tell you, Silverstone, he finished P2 and he had that crazy, he had the contact at the beginning and he was in last place and then he still finished in second. Now the luck with the safety car and everything, but still great restart, overtake. So he's a great driver.
He is.
So
yeah,
more to come from him.
Yep. Anything else before we wrap this podcast up today?
No, I think that's it for me.
All right, that's it for me. I think my driver of the day before we get out of here, because you didn't ask me who mine was. I'm gonna go Daniel. I think it was well deserved. He played him and his team played it right. They maximized the best position, best points, the most points they could have gotten was what they did today.
Yeah, I did say it when I looked up and he was in 5th. I was like, I didn't I yell it out loud? Ricciardo, DOTD.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you did.
He's an honorable mention for me.
He is. You're right. So other than that, I guess we'll see you in 1 week's time, because now we're getting really close to the end. Races are pretty much back to back. There is a week off here in between a couple things, but
yeah, there's Japan's up next, then 1 week off, then we'll be in Austin.
Yep, and we'll be there.
We'll be trackside.
Yeah,
Turn 1, come see us.
So thanks for watching. If you haven't yet, please like, subscribe, comment. We would love to know what you guys thought about this week's race.
Yes.
If you think we're stupid and wrong, tell us too. Other than that, we'll see you guys in a week. All right, bye.